Hey everybody, my name is Emmet Cohen. I come from New York City. I'm a pianist, composer, educator, and all around good person. Yeah, it was a good movie. Any movie that brings some exposure to jazz and to musicians playing real instruments and the lifestyle of a musician, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I see the decorations. Good luck in the new year.
Well, I think it just brings up the general discussion of what it's like to be an artist and what it's like to be to make a living being an artist, and how you kind of sometimes have to make sacrifices to make a living. And I'm lucky to be in a place right now where I'm able to play the music that I want to play. But I think the general feeling of this is something that musicians definitely have to experience. Especially like in New York, a lot of musicians have to play wedding gigs, and they have to play top 40 music. I think if someone agrees to play a gig, usually they know what kind of music they're going to play. They don't show up and act surprised like that. So that's like kind of the fairy tale element of it. But they do a good job of like kind of showing how as a musician you're asked to do very diverse amount of things, and I think you have to be well versed to be a musician, and you have to know when to lead and do your own thing, and you have to know when to play the gig. Some people think that they're the most important. Some people think that the audience is more important. I think after playing and touring with many different musicians, being on the road with Kurt Elling and Christian McBride, and then playing with older musicians like Jimmy Heath and Jimmy Cobb and Sheila Jordan and George Coleman, they always consider the audience. Houston Person is another one. I saw him. He's in the magazine here too. He's always he says you can watch a lot by noticing what the people are doing. He's always like, we want to keep the people engaged in the music. We want to make people love jazz, and that's one of my goals too, is to help people love the music. And by doing that, you keep them in mind. But that doesn't mean you have to get on the table and dance around to entertain. But conscious thing. The way he said, one for you and one for me. And one thing that's like maybe more introspective composition that requires someone to focus more and to kind of to dig deep within themselves to understand, and then maybe something that people recognize. To bring it back and balance it out. And I think using those two things, it's always a balance. And no matter where you play, then you rebalance. For me, I think that jazz is one of the most important art forms in the world. Sometimes you can take things out of it to make it sound like it belongs in an elevator, but the term jazz is so broad. It can mean so many different kinds of things, and the way I tend to view it is it's Black American music that has a connection to New Orleans. It has the intensity of New York. It has the African drums within it, and it's a folk music. And I feel like folk music generally is not background music. It's music that's passed on from generation to generation. You can sing these songs. You can sing the Great American Songbook, to your kids, and they'll be singing it to their kids, and it's stuff that you hear and you're able to experience your life through these folk songs, and that's what it is to me. Just like if you go to Ireland, Celtic music will be the folk song there, and it's passed on from generation to generation. It's something important that helps the identity of a community and of a culture of people.
You say you want to save jazz. How you gonna save jazz if no one's listening? Jazz is dying because of people like you. You're playing to 90-year-olds, at the lighthouse? Where are the kids? Where are the young people? You're so obsessed with Kenny Clark and Thelonious Monk. These guys were revolutionaries. How are you going to be a revolutionary if you're such a traditionalist? You're holding on to the past, but jazz is about the future.
You know, Charlie Parker died, and John Coltrane died, and Miles Davis died, and every time someone like that, they say jazz is dying, jazz is dead. You know, the 40s, the big band were popular, and after the 30s, it was like bebop, and people were like, oh, the music's dying, and it's dying. I think the truth is that it's always been the same. You know, it's not pop music. A friend of mine says it's like the weeds that grow up in between the cracks. You know, you try to wipe them away, and you try to cut them, and you try to clean it out, but no matter what you do, it keeps sprouting up and popping up. And, you know, being in New York, there's a ton of jazz clubs and a ton of musicians, and, you know, the music will always be there for those people who need it. I think that one of the things that helps is young people playing jazz. Today in the United States, we saw Samara Joy win Best New Artist over all the pop musicians. You know, and she's just singing like jazz standards. We played the concert last night here in Seoul, Korea, and overwhelmingly the audience was very young. Yeah, I didn't see very many old people in the audience, almost like 450 people. And I didn't really see that many gray hairs in the audience, right? So, you know, it depends on the venue a lot of times, but like, you know, the young musicians I spend time around, we all try to play for young people and inspire them in that way. Something that John Legend was talking about was like, you know, how are you going to play, you know, how are you going to keep the music going if you're only playing for 90-year-olds? And I think that part of it's true. So to try to find younger musicians, you know, one thing that we love to do is play in high schools, play in middle schools, play for young people that haven't really heard it before. Because if you play it and it's full of life and it's exciting and it's filled with dynamics and it's filled with and it swings hard, you know, people are gonna feel it, you know, because it's a very human thing. It's very flexible. There's breathing, there's life, there's energy in it that you can't really put a finger on. You know, it's just like, wow, the live instruments in the moment, in the room, coming together. Most people, when they hear that, they're like, I like that, you know. I think that there are many different ways to be revolutionary. So we spoke about Sheila Jordan before. Doing something for 92 years, that makes you revolutionary in and of itself. If you're just doing it and you're spreading love for that long, you're revolutionary. You know, if you have a good idea and you mix different kinds of music together, you know, that can make you revolutionary too. If you come from a musical family and a long line of musicians, you know, you're already revolutionary because you're part of that lineage. So there are many different ways to achieve that. And I think, you know, revolutionary is a definition like successful. You know, how do you define success? How do you define being revolutionary? You know, that's the question where you search inward. If I ask myself, you know, am I revolutionary? You know, I don't know. I mean, I'm just doing what I'm doing. And then other people can say, yeah, you know what, Emmett's place was kind of revolutionary. Or, no, he's just playing the same old stuff that people have been playing for the past 70 years. He's not. And there's two sides of the argument. You know, I'm lucky that I don't have to participate in the argument. I can just sit back and play music because that's what I was put on this earth to do. I think jazz is music and culture that comes from different types of humans coming together. Jazz comes from the Black American struggle, but encapsulates the struggle of any kind of human being in this world. And it's about taking the struggle, taking the hardships, and turning that into hope. And so when you hear Louis Armstrong on a high note at the end of a song, you can hear all the struggle, but what he's emitting into the world is that feeling of hope. And for me, jazz is really about hope for a better future, for a better moment for our planet. 감사합니다. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor, truly, to be here in Korea, in Seoul, I hope to experience more of the country next time and connect with the fantastic musicians here and all the loving and adoring fans. Thank you. 감사합니다. 안녕하세요. Thanks, man.